So, what we have here, guys, is excuse me. A right circular cone shown to the right has a height of 14 and radius r. It is it's cut horizontally into a base divided into two sections. There's the top cone P and the bottom. What's that thing called again? A frustum on the bottom. Okay. Now, write down the radius r of the cone S. Justify your answer for r. Okay. Now, 3. There it is. Ratio question. Okay. So remember telling you, it doesn't matter what way you chop up the cone. When you chop off the top of a cone, so as an example, if I was to chop off this cone here, and I was to chop it onto the bottom, it still maintains its ratio of height to length, or height to radius. So what we can see here is we can take the information from the small one. See the small one? It has a height of 10.5 when the radius is 3. We got to scale them both up. We've got to scale this one up to 14, and then we have to find out what the radius would be when the height is 14. Does everybody understand? It has to go up in proportion to each other. Okay? So to do this, what I suggest is find out what a height of 1 would give you. Anybody know how to find out what a height of 1 would give you? Would it give you something smaller than 3 or bigger than 3? So guys, what I'm trying to say is that when the cone is cut, it maintains the ratio of its height compared to its radius. So a 10.5 height gives you a radius of 3. Got that information from this red circle here. What I need to then do is bring it down. What happens if it's a height of 1? Would it be bigger than 3 or smaller than 3, do you reckon? How many times smaller than 3? How many times smaller do you think it will be? 3 divided by what? 10.5. Divided by 10.5. And now all of a sudden you get 2 over 7. Okay? What do I do after I get that? I know what 1 is worth. When the height is 1, the radius is 2/7. I'm not after a height of 1. I'm after a height of 14. So what size is the radius when the height's 14? What do I need to do with my last answer? Make it 14 times bigger. Answer's 4. So the radius there is 4. That's ratio and proportion. We would have done that before. Okay? The key thing for you to remember is that it goes up in proportion. That's the slant height as well, by the way. The slant height also goes up in proportion as well. Okay, so we found out what is our radius. Our radius is 4. How would you justify it? Well, I justified it by saying that the cone, the height goes up in proportion is the key word to the radius. And there's your workings there to tell you that the radius is 4 centimeters or meters. Doesn't actually tell you what the unit centimeters. Okay. Find the volume of S. How do we find the volume of cone S here, guys? Cone S. Volume of a cone formula. 1/3 pi r squared h. 1/3. What's the pi value for this question? 3.14 times your radius and times 14. Lads, let's say as an example you're in a test and you couldn't get part 1 out. Yeah? What should you do in a case like that? Can anybody tell me? But if you need the answer from part 1 to do part 2, just make up a random answer for part 1. Use that answer for part 2, and at least you have attempt marks for part 2 covered. Well, if you go blank on part 1 and you can't do part 2 and 3 because of it, just write something and just write down a random answer that you think fits, and then you can see the next question, part 2, is just use a formula anyway. So you'd be entitled to more marks that way than leaving it completely blank, is what I'm trying to tell you. So if you forget the ratio thing on the day, make some attempt at it, write down some R value and just move on. Okay? They only really punish you once. Now, what's that, Sam? 234.5. Everybody happy enough with that? Centimeters cubed. Hence or otherwise find the volume of the frustum of section Q, correct to 1 decimal place. So I've got the volume of the red one. What's the volume of the red one again? What do you say the volume of the red one is? Sorry, the red one, the entire cone. The volume of the entire cone is 234.5 centimeters cubed. If I find out what the volume of the green part is, then I can find out what the volume of the blue part is. So what's the volume of the green part? We'll do it in green here. 1/3, 3.14. The radius is 3 squared. What's the height? 10.5. And what's the volume of the green cone? Lads, 98.91. Okay, red one minus green one, 135.59 centimeters cubed. Okay.